about forming questions in English. The first questions we're going to look at is forming questions with to be. Now, to be is the first verb that you learn in English, and it has its own rules, so it follows a slightly different pattern to other verbs. We start with a question word, then the to be, and the subject of the question. For example, in present simple, where is the bank? Where is a question word, is a form of to be, the bank is the subject. So let's look at past simple. How was the party? All we've done is change to be to the past. Question word how, the party is subject. Another present simple example, how are you? Simply. Past simple, where was he yesterday? Now, other verbs follow the same pattern for most tenses. We're looking at questions with question words. So we've got a lot of different tenses to look at. They all start with a question word, then the auxiliary verb, then the subject, then the main verb. So present simple, question word here is where. Do you live? The auxiliary verb for present simple is do. Past simple, when did you graduate from university? The question word here is when. Did is the auxiliary verb. Present perfect, which countries have you visited? Here we have a question phrase, and have is the auxiliary verb for present perfect. Be going to? When are you going to start your new job? Here we have the question word when, the auxiliary verb are, and the main verb is going to. Next, we're going to take a look at yes-no questions. Yes-no questions are called this because the only answer for them is yes or no. So they come without a question word. So the only change we make to the pattern is take out the question word. Let's look at some other tenses. We've got present continuous. The auxiliary verb that we start with is are. Are you playing? The main verb. Are you playing tennis on Saturday? Present perfect. Have you been to Italy? Have is the auxiliary verb that we start with. Been is the main verb as the past participle. Will plus infinitive. Will David be at the party? Will, here, is the auxiliary verb for the future. Be is the infinitive main verb. And past perfect example. Had she met him before? Had is the auxiliary verb for past perfect. Met is the main verb. Next we're going to look at the placement of prepositions. Now in old style English or very formal English today, they still use the preposition at the beginning of the question. But this is very formal. You will still see it in some books or some formal correspondence, but usually these days we use informal language. So let's look at it where it comes at the front. From where does he come? From at the beginning. In which city does she live? In is the preposition at the beginning. By which route will you travel? By at the beginning of the question. But these days, in modern English, or if we need to be informal, we move the preposition from the beginning to the end. For example, where does he come from? Which city does she live in? Which route will you travel by? In general, this is the preferred position. Now, another type of question is subject questions. Subject questions, if the question word is the subject of the question, we don't use an auxiliary verb. For example, who won the race? Maybe John won the race. John is the subject, so who is the subject of the question? We don't say, who did win the race? This is incorrect. The same goes for what happened. What is the subject of the question? So we don't need an auxiliary verb. Not what did happen. Who wrote Hamlet? Not who did write Hamlet. No auxiliary necessary. Next we're going to take a look at indirect questions. Indirect questions are used for politeness. Usually when we are talking to someone we know, a friend or a family member, we use direct questions. This is normal. For example, what time does the train leave? Where is the bank? Is there a meeting today? But if we want to be formal or more polite, or in an office setting, we can be more polite by adding an indirect phrase at the beginning of the question. For example, the first question can be changed to, could you tell me what time the train leaves? Where is the bank? Can change to, do you know where the bank is? Is there a meeting today? Can you tell me if there is a meeting today? Now there's a difference between these two questions and this one. These two questions start with a question word. And when we change them to indirect questions, the question word is used after the indirect phrase. When there is no question word at the beginning of a direct question, we use if in the middle of the indirect question. Another important thing about the indirect questions is that the verb and the subject change place. So what time does the train leave changes to, could you tell me what time the train leaves? The subject and verb have changed place. Where is the bank changes to, do you know where the bank is? Subject and verb change place. Is there a meeting today? Is there? There is. Okay. Okay, we're just going to recap what we looked at today. First thing we looked at was questions with to be. The verb to be always follows its own rules, so it has its own pattern of question word, verb and subject. For example, where is Peter? Why are you here? Who is your father? What is your name? Where were you born? All other verbs follow the same pattern of question, auxiliary, subject and verb. Present simple, what do you do on Saturdays? Present continuous, where is he going? These are the auxiliaries in the question. Present perfect. What sports have you tried? Past simple. Where did you go? And past continuous. Why was she crying this morning? Here's some more examples in different tenses. So past perfect. Where had he seen her before? Auxiliary verb had. Will plus infinitive. Who will she invite to the party? Will is the auxiliary verb. Be going to. What are you going to wear to the wedding? Are, auxiliary verb. Future continuous. What will you be doing next week? Will is the auxiliary. Future perfect. How far will he have travelled by tomorrow? So as you can see, in all the tenses, it follows the same pattern. Question, auxiliary, subject, and verb. Next we're going to remember subject questions. When the question word is the subject of the question, we use no auxiliary verb. Who invented the telephone? Alexander Graham Bell, subject, invented the telephone. So the who is the subject too. No auxiliary. What caused the accident? Slippery roads caused the accident. This is the subject, which refers to what. So what is the question word? What is the subject? No auxiliary verb. And lastly, we looked at indirect questions today, and we use indirect questions for extra politeness. So if we say, what's the time? We add an indirect phrase, such as, could you tell me what the time is? Also, the verb and the subject change place. What's the best way to get to Besiktas? Can you tell me what the best way to get to Besiktas is? Why has the train been delayed? Would you mind telling me why the train has been delayed? Okay, I think that's all for questions for today. Thank you for watching Speak English online video lessons. See you next time.